nutrition. What do I eat? It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What to eat to optimize your health and well-being. This is especially important when you have some health challenges, either acute infection or chronic illness. So there are so many schools of thought out there, and obviously everybody is different. So you really need to find out what works best for you. But I'm going to give you some of the basics that I think are kind of relevant for the majority of people. So the first big thing is to eat a whole foods diet, okay? By far the most important in my opinion. If everybody ate this way, then the world would be a very different place and we wouldn't be seeing such high levels of chronic illness today. So the top dogs, I'm going to go through a few different groups of whole foods. The top dogs, I would say, are fruits and vegetables. These are so important for a healthy mind and body. But they're kind of really underrepresented in most modern diets. We really need these for micronutrients, phytonutrients, as well as for the fiber that feeds our microbiome and really kind of keeps us regular. Fruits and veg also provide us with the carbs that fuel our energy production. But even though they're carbs, they're mostly low GI. And therefore they don't tend to spike our blood sugar and raise our insulin levels significantly. The second group that I'll talk about in the whole food section is nuts and seeds. So these are kind of similarly high in micronutrients as for fruits and veg, but they're also loaded with kind of antioxidants like polyphenols that really combat oxidative stress by neutralizing free radicals. They are high in beneficial fiber and function as a kind of prebiotic food for healthy gut bacteria. Nuts have also been shown to have anti-inflammatory properties, with research suggesting that nuts can decrease inflammatory markers by up to 90%. So that's pretty huge. The next group of whole foods are the herbs and spices. So this group has been kind of incredibly important throughout history, with many herbs and spices kind of celebrated for their medicinal properties well before they were ever used for kind of culinary purposes. So my five top examples, my five favorite examples: cinnamon. So that lowers blood sugar levels, improves insulin sensitivity, and it has potent antioxidant activity. Number 2 is turmeric. So again, powerful antioxidant and also a strong anti-inflammatory. 3 is ginger. So this is great for treating nausea, also has strong anti-inflammatory properties. Garlic, great for fighting infection, great for blood pressure reduction, and also for LDL cholesterol reduction. And number 5 is basil. So this is a cholesterol lowerer as well, cholesterol lowering benefits, high in antioxidants, and also has antimicrobial benefits. The next group of in the whole foods is eggs. So eggs, I would say, are kind of nature's perfect little packet of nutrients. One egg has only 75 calories, but it has 7 grams of high quality protein, 5 grams of fat, along with iron, vitamins, minerals, and carotenoids. And, they're really also very high in choline, which is a phospholipid that is great for brain development, memory, and also for cell membrane maintenance. But make sure you're getting them from pastured chooks and not from, cage-fed, cage-raised chooks. Next is meat and fish. So we know these as really great sources of protein, but they also often provide other essential nutrients that are more easily digestible and absorbable than plant-based sources. So this is particularly important when you are unwell, and in that circumstance you often require lots of protein for cell repair. And so getting these proteins from animal sources can be much more impactful in that situation. So oily fish like salmon and trout, they are high in omega-3s, very low in toxic load compared to other fish, and they're also better choices from a sustainability perspective. So you really want to choose wild caught options when it comes to fish, really to kind of minimize the unnecessary ingestion of, antibiotics and such things that are used in the farming process. You also typically get a higher overall nutritional content with wild fish, because they are themselves eating a more diverse diet than farmed fish. When it comes to meat, you want to go for grass-fed and organic. It has almost 5 times the omega-3 content and none of the downsides of conventionally raised animals. Some of those downsides being antibiotics, environmental footprint, unnatural diet. Okay, so they're eating grains instead of grass, which is what cows should be eating. Okay, so grains and legumes would be the next ones that I'd mention. They can be a great source of fiber. They're a low GI carb, and they have lots of vitamins and minerals as well. So the fiber can really help to support healthy digestion by giving bulk to stool, and it can lower the risk of constipation because of that. It also acts as a prebiotic that can help to feed the beneficial gut bacteria. So while whole grains are healthy for many people, you really need to be careful with them as a whole if you are gluten sensitive. So sometimes people that are gluten sensitive are also sensitive to all grains. So you need to kind of play around with this group to see if it suits you. Now I'm going to just talk about a few things other than the whole foods. So the first one is avoiding toxins. So that's another thing that we should all be trying to do, avoiding or at least minimizing, right? So you want to avoid putting toxins into your body if at all possible. Alcohol is the one that comes to mind. It's the big one, but also things like trans fats and non-organic food that's laden with pesticides. They should all be eliminated or at least minimized if possible. And also just think about your water supply. So, there's tons of heavy metals in drinking water. They can cause health issues, and especially the halides. They can cause a lot of serious health issues. So things like fluoride and chloride. The other thing is to remove or at least reduce inflammatory foods. So the biggest culprit here, when I refer to inflammatory foods, is sugar. And yes, everybody should remove this food. Okay, so the next two most common food groups causing an inflammatory response are gluten and dairy. So both of these groups have proteins that can cause digestive upset and subsequent systemic inflammation. Next would be soy, yeast, and corn. These are also high up on the inflammatory list. But remember also that it's not always the obvious foods that I've already listed that are causing your health issues. So many healthy and nutritious foods can also be inflammatory for some people. So just to give you an example, I personally am sensitive to Brazil nuts and eggs, even though they are both very nutritious food. And some of my clients are sensitive to things even like bananas or strawberries. Okay, so it really depends on your biology and particularly the health of your gut. So if you have hyperpermeable gut lining that is leaking out undigested proteins into your bloodstream, then you might be reacting to dozens of foods. Okay. And lastly, I'm just going to mention blood sugar. So maintaining normal blood sugar levels is super important. It's a super important part of avoiding long-term health issues. It's important for managing your weight and just for feeling good in general. So health problems that relate specifically to blood sugar imbalances are a really rapidly growing burden that is reaching epidemic proportions. So some easy ways to prevent blood sugar spikes throughout the day is to reduce overall sugar intake. That one's kind of obvious. To get regular exercise, to eat more fiber, to stay hydrated and to reduce stress. to improve your sleep and to reduce alcohol consumption. Okay, thank you very much.